relationships, or that Kody perceived how we were with Robyn. How you treat Robyn is how...
There was nothing left to say. Silence hung in the air like a heavy curtain no one dared to touch. Hi crew, welcome back to the only channel that uncovers the raw, unfiltered courtroom truths hiding beneath polished TV smiles. Today we dive deep into the 48 minutes that didn't just shake Kody Brown's world. They obliterated it. In less than an hour, decades of lies, manipulation, gaslighting, and hidden financial betrayals erupted in a Flagstaff courtroom where no cameras rolled, no reality show scripts existed, only the raw sound of justice being prepared. Picture it. Before the tears, before the verdict, before the gavel struck, the room was suffocatingly still. No flashing TLC lights, no confessionals, no dramatic producers whispering instructions. Just lawyers flipping through folders, pens scratching across yellow pads, and the quiet dread that clung to one side of the aisle. On one bench sat Kody Brown and Janelle Brown, not as co-wives anymore but as plaintiffs, as mothers, as women who had been wronged for far too long. On the other side, Kody and Robyn huddled close, attorneys beside them, their masks of confidence already starting to crack. This wasn't family drama. This wasn't a petty breakup, a tantrum over love lost. This was Brown versus Brown, a civil lawsuit in Arizona family court, listing charges that no amount of smiles or family dinners could disguise: breach of fiduciary duty, unjust enrichment, intentional infliction of emotional distress. It was no longer about love or faith. It was about money, control, and the betrayal of trust in a family that had long sold themselves as a symbol of unity, morality, and faith-based love. For years, fans bought into the illusion. The so-called modern plural family that celebrated differences and overcame obstacles. But if you looked closely enough, you saw the fractures. If you listened hard enough, you could hear the silence where there should have been honesty. And now, finally, in this courtroom, the silence had no place left to hide. The truth was ready to explode. But every courtroom story has a beginning, and this one didn't start with legal filings or subpoenas. It began in a living room, behind closed doors, where whispered arguments replaced affection, where emails went unanswered, and where wives turned away not out of rage but from exhaustion. Kody was the first to break free. Her exit wasn't loud, it was calculated. She packed her things, walked away, and never once looked back. At first, fans believed it was a private, personal choice. But when Janelle followed soon after, the cracks widened into a canyon. These weren't random departures. They were coordinated acts of survival. Both women had long harbored suspicions. Money missing. Decisions made without their input. A favoritism toward Robyn that was no longer subtle but blinding. Still, suspicion wasn't enough. They needed proof. That proof came like a hammer blow. Financial statements, pay stubs, contracts, and the testimony of someone no one expected to turn. Mindy Jessup, Robyn's own niece, the family nanny. But that twist would come later. For now, the focus was on the courtroom. The judge, a seasoned man known for his calm temperament, ordered both sides to rise. No theatrics. No shouting. Just the cold formality of the law. Kody and Janelle's attorney, Anna Sharma, wasted no time. Her voice sliced through the silence like a blade. "This is not about marriage," she declared. "This is about willful financial dishonesty. About women gaslit into believing they were part of a team while being quietly shut out from every decision that mattered." Across the aisle, Kody's defense scrambled. Their attorney, Silas Croft, tried to spin it as nothing more than a bitter breakup being exaggerated for attention. He claimed the wives were angry, misinformed, and already financially compensated. But the calm confidence cracked the moment the first piece of evidence was displayed. The courtroom lights dimmed as Sharma presented a bank transfer on the screen. Money funneled from Family Traditions LC into a shadow company called KFAR Holdings. The numbers glowed under the fluorescent lights. Tens of thousands of dollars moved quietly, secretly, repeatedly. Suddenly, this wasn't about love or loyalty. This was fraud. Kody shifted in his seat, jaw tight, fists clenched. Robyn's hand gripped his arm like a lifeline, but both of them looked unprepared for what was about to unfold. The illusion of the charming patriarch was unraveling. The man who once commanded every room now had nowhere to hide. Kody and Janelle's attorneys weren't bluffing. They had a timeline, receipts, and a plan. Every move was calculated. Every document a nail in the coffin. The mask of Kody Brown, the leader, the patriarch, the misunderstood victim, was being ripped away piece by piece. For years, Kody sold a dream, Coyote Pass, a utopian ranch where every wife would one day build her home, a place of unity, peace, and family forever. But while he sold the dream to his wives and to millions of viewers, the reality was much darker. Sharma revealed the existence of two financial systems. One, Family Traditions LLC, which every wife knew about, and a second, Kfar Holdings LLC, that no one but Kody and Robyn controlled. Transaction after transaction appeared on the screen. $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Money drained from the shared family account into the secret empire. The account holders? Kody Nathan Brown and Robyn Alice Brown. Only them. The courtroom buzzed like a hornet's nest. Christine sat still, eyes locked on Kody, unflinching. Janelle's face betrayed no emotion, but her fists clenched tight in her lap. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was personal. Years of silence, years of deception now laid bare for the world to see. And this, the attorneys promised, was only the beginning. Christine and Janelle had been told the same lie over and over again. There just wasn't enough money to build on Coyote Pass. They were urged to wait. Wait for the market to improve. Wait for a better time. Wait for unity. Yet while they were told to wait, Robyn Brown was living in a different reality. A sprawling 5-bedroom estate on 2 acres, fully financed, fully furnished, with bills paid through accounts Christine and Janelle were never allowed to touch. The payments didn't stop there. Hidden in the paperwork was another detail. Miss Mindy Jessup, the so-called family nanny, Robyn's niece, was receiving regular paychecks. Where did those funds come from? Not from the family's agreed accounts, but from the secret entity, Kfar Holdings. Attorney Sharma wasn't about to let this slide. She pulled up the next set of evidence, and even seasoned courtroom reporters gasped. Internal emails. One email from April 2020 revealed Kody himself had requested a $30,000 disbursement from Family Traditions LLC. The reason? Unexpected security upgrades for the Flagstaff homes. But within 48 hours, the money was transferred directly to Kfar Holdings and then wired to a private security firm, for Robyn's house alone. Neither Christine nor Janelle had authorized the expense. They hadn't even been informed. This wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate breach of fiduciary duty. Kody's legal team jumped to object, claiming that the expenditures were for family protection. But Sharma was relentless. She traced every cent, showing the court that the so-called security expenses benefited only Robyn's household. The judge allowed the evidence, and in that moment the case transformed. It was no longer about clashing stories. It was about facts. Cold, undeniable facts. The courtroom atmosphere shifted. Gone were the casual postures, the polite half-smiles. Jurors leaned forward. Reporters typed furiously. Even the bailiff's usually frozen face flickered with surprise. Everyone could feel it. This wasn't a messy divorce story anymore. This was a financial scandal unraveling in real time. And Sharma was just getting warmed up. She drew a simple but devastating visual. 2 columns on the courtroom screen. Promised. Equal homes, equal investment, equal access. Delivered. Robyn with a finished home, her expenses approved, her luxuries granted. While Christine and Janelle were left waiting, begging for budgets, watching dreams dissolve into thin air. Kody's jaw clenched. Robyn sat stiffly, staring ahead, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. The mask of the shared dream was crumbling, and everyone knew it. Then came the moment that destroyed whatever defense they had left. The forensic accountant, an independent expert, calm and clinical, stood before the court with pages of audits, ledgers, and receipts. He revealed that over $300,000 had been siphoned from Family Traditions LLC into Kfar Holdings in under 2 years. The spending pattern shifted dramatically right after Robyn's house purchase. There was no signed approval from Christine, Janelle, or even Meri. Instead, signatures belonged only to Kody and Robyn. Then the accountant dropped the bombshell. A $25,000 payment labeled estate planning retainer had been taken from Family Traditions funds. But when verified, it wasn't estate planning for the family. It was a trust amendment making one property belong solely to Robyn Brown. Family money had been used to secure Robyn's personal assets, shutting the others out entirely. Christine's eyes lowered, a flicker of pain crossing her face. Janelle sat rigid, her hands folded tightly, fighting to stay composed. The accountant hesitated, then delivered the final dagger. If those funds had remained in Family Traditions LC, there would have been enough to build 2 additional homes on Coyote Pass by late 2021. 2 homes. One for Christine, one for Janelle. Homes that were never built because the money was gone. Kody's lawyer tried to twist it, arguing plural households made finances complicated. But the figures didn't lie. The LLC filings didn't lie. And Sharma hammered it home with more exhibits. Bank statements provided by none other than Mindy Jessup. Exhibit 42A, 42B, 42C. Regular deposits, every other Friday. The exact amount, $3,076. $92 per payment. Annually, over $80,000. A nanny being paid a corporate salary while Christine was told she couldn't afford groceries, and Janelle was denied funds for a home foundation. Sharma addressed the jury directly. Ladies and gentlemen, this was at a time when these women were told the family was broke. Yet look where the money went, into one household, one wife, one vision. The courtroom fell into a stunned silence. But Sharma wasn't finished. Next came the contracts, the Holy Grail fans had speculated about for years. The TLC deals. For the first time ever, hard numbers were revealed in court. Base payment per episode, $180,000. Bonuses tied to viewer ratings. Promotional payouts for book tie-ins and podcasts. The money wasn't in the thousands. It was in the millions. But here was the betrayal. After 2019, not a penny of those network payments went to Christine or Janelle, except for basic appearance fees. The bulk? Funneled through Family Traditions LC, then swallowed whole by KN Holdings. On the screen, a 3D pie chart glowed. 87% KN Holdings. 9% untraceable cash withdrawals. 4% miscellaneous. Christine and Janelle's slice? 0. Emails revealed Christine's desperate attempts in 2021 to see the books, only to be told access is being restructured for legal reasons. The emails were signed by Kody himself. Not miscommunication. Not oversight. Obfuscation. The judge called for a recess. As the jury left, one middle-aged juror shook her head, whispering, "Unbelievable." The truth was no longer hidden in feelings or suspicions. It was carved into documents, wire transfers, and contracts. And then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. As the court reconvened, Anna Sharma called her next witness. The air thickened instantly. The name echoed like a shockwave. The plaintiffs call Mindy Jessup. The gallery froze. Some gasped. Christine straightened. Janelle stiffened. Kody blinked rapidly, his composure visibly cracking. Because this wasn't a fan, a former wife, or an angry relative. This was Robyn's niece. The family nanny. The insider who had been in the Flagstaff home day after day, year after year. She had seen everything the cameras never caught. And today, under oath, she was ready to speak. She walked toward the stand without hesitation, but with a weight that silenced the entire room. No flashy makeup, no bold colors, no grand gestures. Just a plain gray blazer, hair tied back tightly, and eyes that carried the steady defiance of someone who had lived too long in silence. The kind of presence that didn't need theatrics. She was there, and her very existence whispered, "I know what I saw, and I will not be afraid to speak it." The oath was administered, and the room seemed to hold its breath. Attorney Anna Sharma stepped forward, her voice calm but sharp. "State your full name for the record." "Mindy Jessup." "Mindy Alice Jessup." The name rippled through the courtroom. Robyn Brown's niece. The nanny. The insider. Sharma leaned closer. "Miss Jessup, you are related to the defendant, Robyn Brown." "How?" "She is my aunt," Mindy replied firmly. "My mom's sister." "And you're connected to Robyn's children as well?" "Yes. Through my father, I'm half-sister to Dayton, Aurora, and Brianna." The jury leaned in. She wasn't just some outsider with gossip, she was family. "Were you ever employed by Robyn and Kody Brown?" "Yes. From late 2019 until mid-2022. I was their nanny. I homeschooled some of the kids. I managed daily household duties." Sharma's tone sharpened. "How many days a week did you work?" 5 to 6 days. 8 to 10 hours a day." The answer hit like a thunderclap. This wasn't a casual babysitter who came once in a while. This was someone embedded into the daily rhythm of their lives. A witness who had seen the unpolished reality. Sharma laid the foundation carefully, brick by brick. Then came the strike. Who issued your paychecks, Miss Jessup? They came from KN Holdings. Not Kody, not Robyn, but the same shadow company at the center of the entire scandal. The salary figure, $80,000 annually, was already documented in bank records. Every 2 weeks, deposited like clockwork, while Christine was being told she couldn't even afford relocation expenses, and Janelle was denied money for a foundation. The courtroom was silent, but the tension was crackling like static. While you worked in the home, Sharma pressed, did you ever overhear discussions between Kody and Robyn about the plaintiffs, Christine and Janelle? Yes, Mindy said. Often. Sharma nodded. Can you give us one example? Mindy's voice remained steady. Fall of 2020. Christine had called, asking Kody to be present for Isabel's surgery. He was furious. He stormed around the living room shouting, she is not the head of this family, I am. She doesn't set my schedule. And Robyn told him, she's manipulating you. She's guilt-tripping you with Isabel's pain. If you give in now, they'll all think they can control you. Gasps swept through the gallery. Isabel's spinal surgery, a desperate plea from a daughter, dismissed as a power move. Mindy continued, voice cutting through the silence. They called Christine and Janelle the noise. They spoke about restricting their access to money, blocking their calls. They even rehearsed how to appear as victims on camera. They weren't maintaining the family, they were scripting a story. Kody shifted violently in his seat. Robyn stared straight ahead, jaw locked. Then came the revelation no one expected. Sharma leaned in. Miss Jessup, did you ever see documents from KFAR Holdings? Yes. They weren't very discreet. Sometimes papers were left on the kitchen counter, or open on the office computer. What did you see? Regular deposits from Family Traditions LLC. Account balances over $200,000. Deposit slips from TLC. Transfers from my sister-wife's closet. The jury's eyes widened. Kelsey checks. Merchandise money. All flowing quietly into Kody and Robyn's private account. Did you ever overhear them discussing these transfers? Yes. They called it their nest egg. They said it was for the little ones. That the older kids didn't understand long-term planning. Christine exhaled sharply as if a burden had been spoken aloud. Janelle turned her head toward the jury, her eyes burning with restrained fury. The testimony built like an avalanche. Kody and Robyn intentionally privatized family wealth. They used the COVID lockdown as a weapon to isolate others. They painted Christine and Janelle as irresponsible, while indulging in unchecked spending. And most damning of all, they didn't just let the family fall apart. They planned its collapse. The room buzzed. The weight of betrayal was palpable. But Kody's defense wouldn't let this go unchallenged. Attorney Silas Croft swaggered toward the stand, smirk plastered on his face. Miss Jessup, you made $80,000 a year working for my clients. Quite a salary for a nanny, wouldn't you say? Yes, she replied calmly. And yet here you are, testifying against them. Did they fire you? No. I left. Or were you caught leaking information to Kody Brown? No. I left to preserve my peace. Croft leaned closer. So, we're to believe you're impartial? Mindy's gaze never wavered. I expect this court to hear the truth. The exchange was brutal, but every answer only made Mindy appear more credible. Croft tried again. Then why now? Why come forward after accepting that salary for years? Her voice did not tremble. Because I was afraid. Because I loved those children. And because silence would make me complicit. The gallery stirred, an audible sigh rippling through the crowd. This wasn't a bitter ex-employee. This was a whistleblower. And her testimony had just detonated the last remnants of Kody and Robyn's carefully constructed narrative. But Sharma wasn't finished. She returned to redirect, and her next question shifted the entire trial into darker territory. Miss Jessup, I'd like to speak with you about March 2020 through late 2021. The peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. You were still employed during that time, correct? Yes, Mindy said. I was there nearly every day. And you were aware of the COVID protocols Kody Brown imposed? Very much so. He printed laminated copies and hung them on the kitchen wall. Rules like, no guests, no grocery runs, no interaction with anyone outside the household. Sharma's voice cut deeper. Were these rules followed rigidly by everyone? Mindy's pause was deliberate. Then she said, no. The room stiffened. Sharma pressed. Please explain. Mindy's eyes locked onto the jury. Family came over. Friends from Utah visited. Robyn's relatives were welcomed. I saw them hugging. I saw them eating around the fire pit. I saw Kody laughing with them, unmasked, no distancing. A gasp tore through the gallery. The very rules Kody had used to exile Christine and Janelle's families were rules he himself ignored. And the testimony was about to get darker still. The tension was suffocating. As Mindy's voice settled over the courtroom, Attorney Sharma delivered her final question with precision. Miss Jessup, during this time, were Christine and Janelle's children permitted to visit? Mindy's answer cut through the silence like glass shattering. No. Gabriel was labeled a risk because he worked retail. Garrison wasn't allowed anywhere near the property. Even Janelle was told to quarantine for 2 weeks simply for going to the pharmacy. The gallery gasped. But Sharma pressed further. And Robyn's family? They were labeled safe, Mindy said bitterly. Trusted. In Robyn's words, our circle. The courtroom froze. The double standard was undeniable. Sharma stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. Did Kody know this was inconsistent? Oh yes, Mindy said, her voice steady but heavy with memory. I once heard him say, they'll never learn. The crew isn't even filming right now. He was talking about Christine. About Janelle. About the wives who weren't in his chosen circle. The oxygen seemed to leave the room. Christine's shoulders trembled, though she kept her face forward. And then Mindy inhaled deeply, as though summoning all the strength she had carried in silence. Her next words would haunt every soul in the courtroom. One evening, Christine called. He was crying. Isabel had just asked why her daddy wouldn't come to her surgery. Robyn silenced the phone. Kody said, she's guilt-tripping me. Using the surgery against me. Robyn replied, then let her feel the consequences. The room didn't explode. It cracked open in stunned silence. Christine brushed away a tear. A juror, unable to hold back, did the same. In that moment, it was no longer about money or contracts. It was about something far worse. The weaponization of a child's pain. Mindy's voice trembled for the first time. I was there. I saw the double standards. Kody hugging Robyn's father while refusing to call his own son. Kody sipping wine at a birthday party while telling Christine her daughter must heal alone. They didn't just break trust. They designed their own kingdom built on exclusion and control. COVID wasn't protection. It was power. It was isolation. It was their excuse to erase the rest of the family. Sharma stood silent, letting the testimony linger like smoke. Finally, she said softly, no further questions, Your Honor. The judge nodded. The court recessed. But no one moved. The weight was unbearable, pressing into every wooden bench and every heart. This wasn't just betrayal, it was abandonment. And abandonment leaves deeper scars than theft ever could. Balance scale, the verdict outside the world already knew. Reporters typed frantically. Hashtags trended. But inside, the focus was only on one thing. Justice. 48 minutes. That's all it took. A case that should have stretched days, weeks, was resolved in under an hour. Because the facts weren't complicated anymore. They were undeniable. The jury filed in. 12 ordinary citizens who now carried extraordinary truth. None looked at Kody. None at Robyn. Instead, their eyes rested on Christine and Janelle, the women who had endured years of silence. The judge rose. A gavel strike echoed like thunder. His voice steady, measured, final. In the case of Brown versus Brown, the court finds as follows. On the count of breach of fiduciary duty, for the plaintiffs. On the count of unjust enrichment, for the plaintiffs. On the count of intentional infliction of emotional distress, for the plaintiffs. Gasps swept the gallery. Kody leaned back as if the air had been stolen from his lungs. Robyn clutched her rosary so tightly the beads cut into her skin. Christine closed her eyes, her lips quivering, while Janelle's hand gripped the bench as though bracing against a storm. But the judge wasn't finished. His voice deepened as he read the damages. reimbursement of all Coyote Pass investments, redistribution of TLC revenues post-2019, liquidation of KN Holdings and its assets, emotional damages awarded to Christine and Janelle Brown. Robyn broke. Her tears weren't quiet acceptance. They were frantic, desperate sobs of a woman watching her empire collapse. Kody sat rigid, his face stone, but the fury was visible in the tremor of his jaw. And then came the final hammer. In addition, the judge declared, this court orders immediate financial disclosure of all remaining Brown properties, and a freeze on Coyote Pass accounts until full compliance is confirmed. The room erupted, not in noise, but in silence so profound it rattled the soul. It was over. Completely. Absolutely. Woman red hair Christine's closing. The judge turned, asking if the plaintiffs wished to make a statement. Christine rose. She didn't come forward as a reality TV figure, nor as a scorned wife. She stood as a woman who had fought too long to be believed. Her voice was simple. No statement, Your Honor. Just, thank you. And with that, Christine and Janelle walked out together. Heads high, steps steady, free at last. Free of manipulation. Free of silence. Free of the weight that had kept them bent for decades. Tornado, the fallout. The courthouse doors opened, and the storm outside met the storm within. Reporters swarmed, cameras clicked, social media erupted. But Christine and Janelle said nothing. They didn't need to. The verdict had spoken. Behind them, Kody remained in his seat, muttering under his breath, his words venomous. They never loved me. Robyn wept uncontrollably, not for truth or justice, but for loss. For exposure. For the fairy tale destroyed. The order went into effect immediately. KN Holdings was to be liquidated in 90 days. TLC's silence loomed louder than words. And then, just as the dust began to settle, an anonymous email surfaced. A leaked letter. Its subject line, Kody's last secret. Inside were allegations from a sealed deposition that a TLC executive had aided financial mismanagement, that wire fraud was under federal investigation, that this trial was only the beginning. Clapperboard. The final scene as Christine and Janelle stood outside in the morning light. They didn't scream. They didn't gloat. They breathed, one long, exhaled breath carrying years of pain away. And in that breath, generations of women found validation. This verdict wasn't just about money. It was about women who had been told to wait, to be quiet, to be grateful for less. It was about daughters who watched their mothers shrink into shadows. And it was about finally saying enough. But one truth remained. If this civil case could reveal such darkness, what secrets still linger, sealed behind the vault of Coyote Pass? Some shows end with cheers. Some end with tears. The Brown family's saga ends with a question mark. Because justice may have been served. But the story isn't over. And next time it may not play out on television at all. It may play out in federal court.